You see, Hori, I was kidding. I was kidding. I didn't actually want you to just off-screen Asui and Uraraka. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, Riddle4765, and Midnight Gemlord. Now, before we come to this review of Chapter 374 of My Hero Academia, please don't forget to leave your own on the chapter in the comment section down below, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, be here at that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below, where you can support for as low as $1 a month, including exclusive videos, early content, and more. Some of that exclusive content including a live reaction to this very chapter. Now, let's hop into the review. What's up, guys? I love Hunter, and here we are to do a review of Chapter 374 of My Hero Academia, which is known as Butterfly Effect, which should also just be known as, at this point, you should have just, put a fist through Kurogiri's head. And no, I'm kidding. But enough of that, let's hop right into the chapter itself. So we open up, and we do get to see that, Mike, Brody failed, just straight failed, 100% failed, because as he's sweating and staring at his former best friend that they should have put in a pack, does Monoma need the specimen to be alive to copy its quirk? Then again, Kurogiri isn't even alive. It's a Nomu. So realistically, you could have just had Endeavor put that gosh darn fire fist, that flash fire fist through his domer, and then this wouldn't be happening. But of course, no, the morals of my already dead homies. Bruh. Look at this. I bet you feel stupid now, huh? You and Aizawa both. Now you have this super powerful, omega rampant black portal man running around ruining the world. Because he got some burnt, crispy, dum-dum bubblegum built fingers on his face. Hope you're happy. You fools. You imbeciles. Specifically, imbeciles, Miss Porter. But regardless, we see that Kurogiri, he wastes no time. But we don't actually get to see the time he does not waste, because we cut away. And we see this, massive, gargantuan, girthy, insane in the membrane cloud just flying over this gigantic city. And notably, this new character who, you know what I'm rubbing my hands together for, you know what it is. But regardless, this new character is this flamagentious cloud that suddenly formed over Japan continues to grow at an alarming rate. If it enters the jet stream, I said jet stream, too much Transformers on the line. But if it enters the jet stream, it could potentially influence weather in North America. And hold on, let me double check. I'm pretty sure I know what flamagentious cloud means, but let me make sure. Okay, so I kind of did, but I really didn't. So a flamagentious cloud is a cloud that appears usually after volcanic eruptions, just when all the ash and smoke is in the air, bada bing, bada boom, you get a flamagentious cloud. And obviously, something that massive being present and possibly affecting the jet stream so badly that it's going to affect North American weather. And notably, this woman is talking from Washington State, the USA. And while admittedly, Japan is on the other side of the ocean, but it's the Pacific Ocean. That's the thing. That's how powerful this gigantic cloud is, and how dangerous it could be. And we see that this woman goes on to explain that the reason this cloud formed is because there were multiple gigantic flaring heat sources combined with a tropical typhoon that came in from the southwest. And apparently this is the largest cloud ever on record. And notably, we don't know how big some super volcano eruptions were. If we knew how big they were, I don't think we'd be around. The sun would choke out. Well, no, the sun would be choked out, and we would all slowly but surely perish due to the lack of sunlight and crops and so much more. But regardless of that, the idea that these three heat sources, which I get identified, is Todoroki, Dabi, and Endeavor. That's kind of crazy. That is actually a little bit insane. These beings are powerful enough to create this bigger than ever on, someone calc that. That's got to be a calc somewhere. I mean, you have to pretty much, I think you, word for word, bar for bar, have to divide this feat by 3, because it's said to be all 3 of them. But then again, the storm already existed. right? It'd be one thing if all their heat caused like a cold shift that ended up making this gigantic cloud and a storm, but nah, a tropical typhoon did already exist. So I'm not sure if you can calc this one. Calc demons, run. See what we can do if you divide it by 3. But with that being the case, this whole idea has this woman being like, okay, let's be real. If the flap of a butterfly's wings can set off tornadoes in Texas when the butterfly was in Brazil, did the birth of the luminescent baby, from which superhuman society originated, doom society to fall to chaos from the very start? Can a single person's power truly change the world? And, well, I do think, yes, yeah, I even made a video on, check out the TikTok in the comments section. But with that being the case, like, I even talked about it. Like, if you were to give humans a fraction of the power that we have in fiction, like, just give us quirks, and let there be the same amount of, like, super lethal quirks as there are in My Hero Academia, we as a species would not last. Like, can you imagine if someone actually had New Order? Can you imagine if someone was actually as physically strong as Midoriya or All Might? Can you imagine if someone had the ability to take powers off of other people? Like, dog, it's only natural that society wouldn't last. I mean, I get what she's talking about here. And to be fair, I think the butterfly effect works much better in a time travel discussion, but I suppose that's what she's kind of using it as, like the idea of, well, if that baby was never born, just as that idea of the butterfly never flapping its wings, maybe we wouldn't have a gigantic flamigentious cloud that's going to end up wrecking our ecosystem. Maybe there wouldn't be superpowered individuals that can accumulate massive abilities and end up becoming literal walking disasters. Like, it's highly likely. Well, I mean, there are problems in our world too, but look at our world, which has yet to develop superpowers as far as we know. We haven't had this. We haven't created volcanic super ash clouds by having to fight each other. There is no threat in Japan that is currently creating the greatest villain to ever walk the earth. Like, there's nothing as drastic as what's going on in our world without superpowers, while in their world with superpowers, everything's going crazy. So the idea that quirks are in general a plague on society more so than they are a benefit is interesting. And it's interesting seeing characters, when faced with this, like, no holds barred reality, like they have no choice but to accept what's happening now. Like, we see, that's one thing, once again, I'll give Horikoshi's world building a bit of credit. I give it a whole ton of credit. I don't know why I'm saying a bit. The idea that these nations would be like, hey, watch it, Meryl, what you saying, dog? And Meryl straight up says, yo, I know the government, no, the world is trying to flatter all for one, but I'm firmly opposed to that idea. Commercial break, hurry! It's all over for us. Yeah. If a massive world superpower, like, literally, I would compare All for One to, like, a walking country. Like, with the exact same amount of firepower, too. Like, legitimately, the amount of power he possesses is characteristically insane. He alone could wipe continents. Maybe not continents. Countries, at least. He could wipe a country off the map. I'm pretty confident in that. Because he is literally a walking disaster. He is like a tornado with feet. An earthquake with feet. Think about it. A hurricane with toes. Like, that's how bad he is. He can just ravage everything. So, of course, these world governments, these individuals that are fearful of this are like, whoa. We got to make sure the tornado with toes likes us. We can't be mean to it, or else we all will not continue the living. Like, think about it. If you could convince a volcano to not erupt all over you by talking to it nicely, darn straight, you'd be talking to it nicely. So it's interesting to see this, and it's interesting to see the dichotomy, right? Meryl is somebody who just doesn't like it, doesn't believe in the objectivity of All for One's rule, and the concentration of powers, and the survival of the fittest, and those who appeal to the strong are the ones who get to survive, and not the weak who rebel against. Like, she's just against all that. And while that's okay, I also don't really get mad at the people running her station that are like, hey, don't do that. Because Yeah, as far as they know, they don't know anything about One for All. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think they do. They don't know much about the limits of All for One. They probably don't know much of what's happening in Japan. The world locked themselves off from Japan. So they have no idea that there's a 16-year-old swinging for the heavens up against this guy who he's trying to save. This literal walking disaster he's trying to save. No, I'm not over that. But regardless, they don't know that. So every single move they make is predicated on being careful, because the volcano with fingertips could appear at their doorstep at any moment, and the volcano with fingertips could just decide stuff like that. Oh, you spoke up against quirks? Gone. I'll wipe your whole state off the map. Okay. Up, you said something wrong? Gone. Your whole family? Smoked. Packed. Instantaneously. Like, I see both sides. I can see where Meryl's coming from. She doesn't like the idea. But at the same time, I can see where the station's coming from. You just put who knows how many people in danger by speaking up against All for One, even indirectly. It's a rough and tough situation, and I like that. I like that. It's rare. Like, usually a lot of magical powers or magical societies, unless the whole world is based in magic, they're usually hidden. Like, the Jujutsu world is something that's under consistent secrecy and watch. Like, look at JJK season 1. They're always putting up barriers, always making cover stories, stuff like that. Like, that's just how it is. Look at the Mist and Percy Jackson. It specifically separates the main world with the magical world. Look at, I don't know, people in Dragon Ball just aren't that informed. So, like, all these different spectrums of the world. So you never necessarily see how the world would usually react to these world-ending events, these world-ending characters, these monsters that just happen to coexist with them. So it's good to see the different perspectives, the different sides in the world of people that are realizing that this is either the next step in evolution for mankind or the last step it's ever going to take. I like it. I like it. However, enough of the philosophy. Let me put my degree down. But with that being the case, we cut back to Kamino War, Japan, Todoroki versus Dabi. And we see that all this heat that's causing Flamagentious clouds is not necessarily slowing down. Burnin herself, a fire user, is like, this heat is insane. And apparently the flames have gotten so darn spicy, so darn hot, so darn juicy, that even Ida's like, yo, Todoroki, I get it, bruh. You were built to be perfect, but obviously you ain't. He'll burn you too. You can't keep facing him. Your ultimate phosphor move took too much out of you. Calm it down. And admittedly, I don't know how. Like, maybe it's just a stamina thing, but like, with Dabi releasing all this heat, can't Todoroki just constantly output ice without having to work? Like, couldn't he just do his glacier move over and over and over and over again? Like, am I tripping? Like, should he not be able to do that? Because I thought the whole thing with Todoroki was that he was supposed to be balanced. Like, he can't make too much cold because he gets too cold. He can't make too much heat because he gets too hot. But with this, bro, just spam ice. Like straight release it en masse. Kind of like you did originally. Like, when you first, quote-unquote, beat Dabi, just release a whole bunch of ice at once. Like, the phosphor move doesn't need to be used here. Just keep spamming ice until he's cooled down. Obviously, the bro's going to keep destroying himself by lighting him on fire, so just keep doing that. But apparently, not an option. However, Todoroki is still determined to keep fighting. As he says, everyone's at their limit. No, we surpassed our limits and continue to fight. But he's the only one still standing. And of course, the only one still standing is Dabi Todoroki. Or should I say Toya Todoroki. And once again, I am ever... Is it weird? No, I still don't like him. Like, I still find Toya just an infinitely less interesting character than he could have been. And the Walking Skelly Man continues that trend. I'll admit, once again, Horikoshi's art makes him look amazing. Hands down, word for word, bar for bar. Like, I genuinely feel bad for Bones. Like, even if I were to straight up hand My Hero Academia to like an UFO table or a madhouse and be like, here, work with that. Sometimes you can't do that. Like, I look at the Blue Lock anime sometimes too, and once again, it's just hard. It's hard. When you're a mangaka, you can put as much detail and as much skill into your art as you want. But when you're an anime, you have to animate this stuff. And I can already imagine how painful this is going to be for the Bones animators. Fire effects, the different details in Dabi's skin, the leaking flame from all the different orifices, the cross on his... Like, legitimately, this is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for me looking at it. I can't imagine redrawing this one frame, which is why I did. I drew Meryl. But, like, seriously, it's pretty wild. Don't get me wrong. Though, it's interesting to see where Todoroki is coming from in this case. He's like, but father's blood, it flows in both of our veins, so why is Toya the only one still standing? And Todoroki, to answer your question, I really think that, buddy, he's insane just like your father is. Well, no, he's just insane. I think that's literally it. Because your father wouldn't be standing in this scenario. He'd literally be dead. So, Todoroki, this is not anything to do with your father. I think Horikoshi just made Dabi nuts and really, really strong because he wanted to make Dabi nuts and really, really strong. Like, that's it. And luckily enough, like, once again, I have issues with Dabi's character, but I also do want to see him fight Endeavor. So I'm happy with what's going to end up happening. So we do get to see that while Dabi, he's still standing just after all this time. He's been using so much fire that he should have almost died, but he's still standing. Yeah. He's still standing. Yeah. He's obviously, like, really, really close to being out of energy. And he realizes that Endeavor is all the way in Gunga. And it's really too far away. And he realizes that even if he were to bar for bar, word for word, keep to his original plan, putting Shoto in a pack and carrying the new gas straight to Endeavor, his body won't hold up. The pack would be a little bit too hard hitting, and thus he wouldn't be able to do what he want to do. So reasonably, that teleportation did actually end up working. Toya, if they had just put I put him on a t-shirt twice, that's all I'm saying. I put him on a t-shirt twice when it came to Kurogiri, then they would have won against Dabi. Dabi's mainly just running on fumes. However, these fumes are enough that he still decides that, you know what, I may not be able to take Shoto out, but what I can do is get to Endeavor one way or another. And he blasts off from his feet and goes, fly it off just like... Oh, sorry, I tried to do I'm Still Standing again, but I couldn't figure out a way to fuse it. With that being the case, he's planning to just fly straight to Endeavor. And, like, just let him. At this point, just let him. He was more likely, like, if the portal didn't open, I'm confident he actually would have just burned out. Like, dude doesn't even have anything left. Like, looking at him, it looks like he barely has his musculature left. And even then, he's losing weight by the second. Maintaining all that fire is not healthy for him. He was likely going to burn out. So, if I was the heroes at this district, I would have been like, well, big rip to all the buildings, but we can replace those. We cannot replace our lives. So, deuces, Dabi. But, of course, with that being the case, we see that Burnin is like, what in the plot is keeping this man together? Like, straight up, he's supposed to be super weak to fire, yet through sheer force of will, he's literally flying. What is going on here? And, once again, see, the thing is, right, I don't want it to be All For One, because All For One's kind of done everything. Like, it's weird, like, I think the reason I like Aizen's I planned it all from the start is that reasonably, for the most part, the plans weren't too extravagant. Like, Ichigo being monitored just happened to happen because Aizen made a mistake. Well, let me not go too far into that. That's spoilers. But with that being the case, Aizen planning it all, it's fine by me. I don't know. For some reason, All For One literally being responsible for everything kind of doesn't sit with me the right way. So, if it gets explained that the reason Dabi's able to keep going on is because he has, like, a minor regeneration quirk or something like that from All For One, but at the same time, I get why Horikoshi wanted to throw a plot point like that in there, because, yeah, at this point, he doesn't seem super weak to fire. If he's literally releasing his blue flames and flying off at this moment after literally burning himself ragged, yeah, why even include that point? Why couldn't he just be a hero? Sure, he'd be scary. He'd be number one on the top villainous-looking heroes list, but I don't know, bro seems pretty viable right now, so, yeah. I don't know, I feel like Horikoshi, he wrote himself into a corner with that one. He needed an excuse to get Dabi up out of here so he could be a villain, but he couldn't let Dabi's main weakness as a villain stay a weakness, or else he couldn't be a villain. The infinite paradox of Dabi Todoroki, or Toya Todoroki. Working on that Dabi video, don't worry about it. But Obviously, Todoroki's like, hey, wait a minute. Where you going? I can still move. You wanna pack me up, right? You're just gonna run away and leave the job half done? Like, come on, bro. Never in my days would I ever imagine calling out to my number one op, who also happens to be my own brother, and be like, come on, man, you need to pack me up right now. Pack me up and do me well. You shouldn't just leave me. Dog, I'd let you leave. I could never be a hero. I could never 100% be a true hero. I'd be in it for the money. I'd have been gone. What? I'm not getting packed up by my own brother, in fact. However, we see that through the massive Nomu, a word comes through. And it's, hey, Mr. Daddy Issues, which is literally Dabi's whole character, which is so sad. But with that being the case, he said... He's like, hey, I told you not to bother me, and I'm glad you haven't been. I'm glad you've been burning up over there. But I do, in fact, have some good news. You're getting a free ride to Gunga. And a portal opens in front of Dabi. And I will admit, once again, Hori's art alone makes the manga like a 7 out of 10. Like, no matter how bad the plot is, no matter how bad the characters is, like, his art alone is... And this looks like a reference. Why does this look like a reference to something? The way he's posed up, open in front of this portal, it looks like a reference. Someone tell me what that reference is. I'm not sure. I feel like it's a reference to something. The pose he makes, the portal, the way it's swirling, that has to be a reference to something. I don't know why. Everything about that seems very referential, but I'm not sure what it is. However, regardless, really, really cool panel. Top of the line panel. Love Hori's art. Chef's kiss. However, we do cut away, and we get to see at the UA Flying Sky Fortress, Midoriya versus Shigaraki in All for One. Yeah, the thing's getting a little bit too chaotic. The wind is too strong, to the point where Manuel's like, this water of mine, the only thing that's keeping your eyes from drying out, yeah, I may have to let that go real quick. And obviously with Manuel making this very bold claim, as I was like, yo, Monoma, you good? You aren't gonna let us go, right? Like, you do realize you're the only thing keeping us alive, right? And Monoma's like, yo, really? Come on now. This fight is literally going straight into the history books. And I need to be the reason we won. So, of course, me, standing on the sidelines, somehow untouched by the magical power of this literal demigod, yeah, I'm gonna keep going. If Edshot's still in there, like, don't get... every time I get reminded that Edshot's reviving Bakugo, I just, like, the series just loses 5 points. Every time a chapter reminds me, the chapter just drops 5 points. I still hate it. Like, I'm sorry, no one has yet to convince me that Bakugo coming back is a good idea. And no one has yet to convince me that how he's coming back remotely makes sense or is a good idea. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. I'm sorry. Y'all can keep fighting. Y'all can keep trying. Hands in the air like I just don't care, because I really don't. It's dumb. But with that being the case, Lemillion and Best Jeanist are still in there, so yeah, whatever. They're doing their due, so Monoma can do his due too. And we see, last but not least, Midoriya's out there doing his best, giving it his all. And he's not going to even risk blinking once. He's not here to whine. He's here to win. And I do like that. Once again, Monoma, a character who, if you ask me, I mean, I always found him, like, funny for his one gag, but a character with this much, like, care and respect for these fellow heroes is nice to see. And it's cool seeing Super Saiyan Midoriya. Super Saiyan... What color is his hair now? Is it still green? Or is it red? I'm not sure. But, like, Super Saiyan... Well, they just call it Super Saiyan Blue. So Super Saiyan Green Midoriya, it's cool to see him in action. And we see, as Shigaraki's getting mighty thick, Midoriya, for some reason, isn't hitting him. Like, bro, you've been blitzing the man out the wazoo. Just, like, keep breaking him. Like, honestly, this sounds bad. Tear him limb from limb. He can survive it. He can clearly survive it. Just rip his limbs. Am I getting graphic? But, like, seriously, I don't know why you're just punching Brody when you know he's mad durable. Tear him apart. And always attack him. Like, I don't know why you're letting this man puff up and scream. Like, just keep hitting him so he can't do that, Midoriya. I don't know. I know you're trying to save him. You're trying to save this nice guy. Huh? Ooh, yes. Because he deserves to be saved. Yes, he does. Because the child inside him. Pause. Rewind the tape. Delete that. Editing me is probably not going to delete that. Regardless, still, two dumb things back to back. I hate that Valgo's coming back, and I hate that Midoriya is still on the saving kick. But regardless, we see that someone says, the things people experience when they're young define the type of person they become. I trust in people's feelings more than anything else. And we see from behind Aizawa, Monoma, and Manuel, comes Present Mike in a gigantic gas cloud and one of Shigaraki's hands. And Aizawa turns back and is like, what? And we see that apparently his voice keeps speaking, and it goes on to say, he lived a dark life, so his feelings for the friend who accepted him are strong. And we cut to the ruins of Gunga Villa, Endeavor versus All for One, who's still back in his prime, and I guess he's just been talking this entire time. Like, bro hasn't really been doing much, especially considering he's running on a time limit. He could have just bodied and left at this point. But I guess, gotta talk it up for the dramatic flair. And we see that through the magic of microchips and Nomus and whatever, apparently, All for One installed a microchip in Shimura's hand to make sure Kurogiri would instantly move, even if he didn't know what was currently happening. What? Like, I legit just don't know. I get it. What this is meant to do is double down for the utmost millionth time after we get a whiff of hope with Midoriya arriving at All for One, or Shigaraki for One's body, that the heroes are in a hopeless situation, they're really down in the trenches, down in the dumps. I get it, but like, Hori, you're writing a plot at this point that just makes it feel now it's just genuinely impossible for me to believe that the heroes can win. Like, word for word, bar for bar. I just don't get how you're doing this. Especially if you're going to take what I'm assuming Kurogiri is coming through that portal for, is to take Monoma, Manuel. And the thing is, how does Kurogiri even know this? What does that microchip say? Can Kurogiri latch on to people's, like, life signatures? How does he know? Was it the Gorillas reference that sent him all the data coordinates or something like that? Like, how? I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know how Kurogiri knew exactly where to teleport everyone, where they need to go, all of that. It's weird. And obviously it was all done by the magical microchip that was in Shigaraki's hand that also somehow magically activated the Nomu side of Kurogiri. I don't know. It just contrived. It just feels very, very contrived and very unnatural. But, that's been My Hero Academia for a while now. So I guess I should just accept it. However, we do get to see that obviously with Iguchi's success, portals open up above the Gunga battlefield. 2, in fact. And we get to see something interesting. Dabi comes on through and is like, hey there, Dad. And obviously Endeavor's like, ugh, the problem child. Well, that's not his reaction. He looks more sad and annoyed and confused and shocked. I would be disappointed. And obviously, the more chaotic one, the one that we see, is twice his return, which is obviously Toga. But, and with this being the case, Hawks is the first word out of his mouth. And yeah, Asui legit just got off screen. I know we're probably going to cut back in time, but why do this? I don't, like, chronological storytelling isn't that hard, Horikoshi. Just go in order. Like legitimately, so many weird things have been happening. Like starting the final battle already, and then cutting away from it to this, contriving this so the hero situation get even worse, and then off-screening. At least, I mean, those are Asui's goggles. Maybe Uraraka, she's still standing after all this time, picking up the pieces of her life in order to survive. She's still standing. Yeah. But at least Asui got put in a pack. Like, you don't just grab someone else's goggles and take them with you unless you pack them up. So, assumingly, Asui's in the pack off screen. So now I know she's going to lose that fight, even if we do cut back in time. And, yeah, alright. Twice is back. And we see that All for One's like, hey, a sad man's end planted a seed of hatred in a young girl's heart, which gave her the ability to use a new weapon. So let's see, Takumi-kun, what would have happened if you hadn't disposed of him so quickly? And Hawks, being the GOAT, and I don't care how many people still don't like Hawks, he did the right thing, as we are just about to see. So if any of your favorite characters get put in a pack by this new Twice, I hope you're happy. But with this being the case, Hawks, being the realist, is like, nah, Nah. No way. No way. We've got to get him now. We've got to get him up out of here right now. Right now. Yeah, they need to execute Hawks immediately. Not Hawks. Twice probably wants to execute Hawks, or Toga twice, whatever. But they probably want to execute Hawks. But Hawks needs to execute Twice immediately. Especially if these are the only two Twices, get rid of them now, immediately, instantaneously. It's the worst. Like, this is literally the worst case scenario that could ever scenario. What if one gets the specs of All for One and then makes him a new body and then he transfers? Oh, whatever. But regardless of that, chapter end. There's a break next week. And overall, the chapter, once again, it does my favorite thing ever. It does world building with My Hero Academia. But, everything else is kind of like, I don't like Dabi's superhuman magical willpower flying whatever. I don't necessarily care for Kurogiri's awakening and how a magical microchip allowed him to do all this instantaneously. Not a fan. I don't like Twice. I don't like him coming back. I don't like Uraraka and Asui getting packed off screen. Like, it's whatever. But the art's so good, it's still a 7 out of 10. I just gotta take 3 points off. That's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. We support for as low as $1 a month to get exclusive videos, early content, and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Manga the Pencil, writing off.